Our exhibition is currently at our headquarters, the Museum of Modern Art in Thessaloniki. And of course, it's an exhibition that that is adjacent to our conference, and it elaborates on the matter of utopia, and specifically on the utopian thinking in the era of the Russian avant-garde. We will, after this guided tour, we will give you a link so that you can connect. And you can browse our collection and navigate yourself in the exhibition in your own time, and have the time to explore and browse all the works on display. This exhibition was actually its structured in various chapters that elaborate on various ideas and aspects of utopia in the era of the Russian avant-garde in the early 20th century. Here you will also find some excerpts from texts by authors and poets and politicians and artists of the period that were actually quite a few of them were already mentioned by the speakers earlier in the conference. So this is our first chapter of the exhibition. It is a chapter that is dedicated mostly in the in the genesis of the avant-garde, at the time where Western modernism really had its impact on Russian art in the beginning of the 20th century. The title of this chapter is In the Name of the New Life to Come. It is actually a quote of Nikolai Ryabushinsky. You can see with the arrows, you can get closer to the works, and you can find their details here. And by clicking on the works, you can zoom in on the images. There are so many works in this exhibition, it would take over 2 hours to elaborate on all of them, but I will show you some of those which I think are very close to utopian thinking. For example, this is one of our very early works. It belongs it belongs to Ivan Klyun. It belongs to the artistic movement of symbolism, which was very popular, very widespread at that time in Russia. The symbolists were very much mesmerized by new perception of life and the world. They were very much interested in exploring the world beyond, in matters of death, of afterlife. And here you can see in this work, which is not very avant-garde in a way that we have established the concept of the avant-garde in our minds. It's very early, it's from 1910. So you can see here, it's a portrait of the artist's wife. And on the background, you can see a very frail lying woman. And even further, you can see some figures that are look like shadows. This whole the issue of the painting is the premonition of death. At that time, the wife of the artist was seriously sick, and he was convinced that she would die. So you can see how realistic this living image is here at the front, and on the background we can see a world a little more shady, a little less discreet. So we can see that the artist has a glance in a world beyond. We can proceed to the next chapter. This chapter has the title "We Arm the World Against Ourselves." It's actually a line from the futurist opera Victory Over the Sun, which is the ultimate futuristic work presented in 1913. It was actually an opera made by Alexei Kruchonych, the futurist poet, and Velimir Khlebnikov, the painter Kazimir Malevich, and the painter and musician Mikhail Matyushin. The Victory Over the Sun, the plot of this play is actually very provocative because it actually calls for the disruption of logic. The artists call for a complete negation of logic and the establishment of a new world. I will proceed to show you a painting by Lyubov Popova. It's a very important work that belongs to the movement of Cubofuturism. You can see, of course, the characteristics of Cubism infused with some features from Italian Futurism. The title of the work is Traveling Woman. And of course, we cannot see a traveling woman. We can barely see a woman. Maybe even some of the some features. Maybe we can see stairs here, or a floor. But you can see here these wheels that remind us the wheels of a train in motion. So this is a new. This is a call for a new perception of time and of space. It's a call for a new perception of the world that we see around us. I will proceed to the next chapter. This is a work by Vsevolod Sulimu Samuilo, and I would like to focus on this work, The Head, by Pavel Filonov. This is an exceptional artist. But he's sui generis. We cannot so easily include him or categorize him. George Costakis said that when he would see a work by Pavel Filonov, he felt that he would die. That was the impact of the works by Filonov on him. We proceed here. This is a room dedicated to war. Of course, in the time of the Russian avant-garde, there was a lot of war experience at that time. Russia was already involved in the World War I, and then it was, of course, after the revolution, there was a civil war in Russia. This is a very avant-garde work titled Universal War. It is a product of collaboration of the futurist poets and the painters and the visual artists. There is no written word in this actually in this book. It is a poem written or represented in collage made by hand by Olga Rozanova. The concept and the poem is belongs to Alexei Kruchonych. We can see here how the word is replaced by abstract images. I would also like to show you this very interesting poster. I think it's quite depicting a utopian idea. This is a poster produced in 1919. You will see here proletarians of the world unite. So here is the title says the Tsar's regiments and the Red Army. So you see there is a comparison of the before and after the revolution. If we zoom here, of course, we can see the patriarch, and on top of him, we can see the word rabstva, which means slavery. And on the next image, right opposite, you can see all this worship of the old world has been replaced with a very abstract image and a factory. And here are the new principles of the new world: art, freedom, free work, bread, and science. So now I will move on. This is another chapter of our exhibition called Cosmic Consciousness. These are actually works by a certain group of artists who were students at the School of Fine Arts in the early 20s, students of Mikhail Matyushin, and the department was called the Department of Organic Culture. Now we'll proceed to the next chapter of the exhibition, which of course focuses on suprematism. And here you can see the famous 010 exhibition of 1915, in which Malevich proposed suprematism, and of course he placed the famous black quadrilateral on white background right at the corner of the room in a very iconoclastic gesture. And here you can see the extensions of suprematism. So now I will proceed in a chapter that is, I think, quite interesting. This chapter is called Astronomy and Architecture. You can see that there is a kind of depiction of cosmic space and aspirations for space travel. This chapter of the exhibition, in this chapter, we also show some texts by very important thinkers of that time, such as Nikolai Fyodorov, who was a philosopher that proposed his philosophy of common task. That's how it was. His work was called, and he called for universal brotherhood based on resurrection and and space travel. It's a very interesting topic regarding utopian thinking. So now I will proceed to the second floor of the exhibition of the museum. And here we are now, chronologically right after the revolution and the beginning of constructivism. At that time, right after the revolution, the artists of the avant-garde movements, they considered themselves as workers, not as artists in the bourgeois sense, but as workers for building of the new society. You will be able to browse all the works when you visit the link that we will give to you. As you can see here, on the wall, there is an excerpt from Boris Arbatov's text on materialized utopia. And here, I would like to show you Tatlin's photograph during the construction of the model of the Third International. Alexei Babichev's model for a monument to Sverdlov. You can see here, actually, this is the logo of our conference as well. This is a work by Gustav Klutzis. It was meant to be an illustration for Alexei Kruchonik's book. Of course, we can see what we recognize here is an architectural study. What is interesting in Klutzis is that all of his constructions, they are balanced whichever way we turn them. Even if they are upside down, there is a certain balance to them. And that is, of course, because of the lack of natural space. And here we will proceed to the next chapter, which is called Art into Technology. It's actually dedicated to the program for the electrification of the whole country, envisioned by Lenin. This is a photomontage by Gustav Klutzis again, showing Lenin bringing electricity in the new city. Well, and in this room, maybe you will recognize this sculpture from Mrs. Santianoglou's speech. This is the only surviving piece from Vladimir Tatlin's flying apparatus, the Letatlin. Here you can see the sculpture. This is a wing strut for Letatlin. And we are entering a next chapter of the exhibition called Scientific Organization of Labor. Of course, this comes from Alexei Gastev's work. And this painting by Gustav Klutzis, again, is actually the principles of the Scientific Organization of Labor. You can see the text here. You can discern some writing by Gustav Klutzis. And here there is also a quote by Alexander Bogdanov. How we must work. Sorry. This is an excerpt by Alexei Gastev. when you visit this site to navigate the collection, you will also be able to hear this text by clicking this image here. It is both in English and in Greek. And here we will enter the last section of the exhibition, titled Engineers of the Human Soul. Of course, this is a famous quote by Stalin, who was also quoted many times. And here in these works, we can see the different directions the artist took during the establishment of socialist realism as the only accepted norm of art in the 30s. So thank you so much for attending our conference. We will, right after the closing, we will publish the link for the virtual tour of this exhibition on our website, on Facebook, and on our YouTube channel. I would like to thank everyone for attending. Thank you so much for your time. I would like to thank the speakers as well as the audience, of course, that stayed with us and showed such an interest in our work. As we said earlier, we promise that we will make a second part of the conference next time in person, hopefully in our museum in Thessaloniki, at the Museum of Modern Art, Costakis collection. At this point, I would like to thank Symboli and Live Media for their help, their technical support, and their fantastic experience in organizing and realizing this event.